After my grandmother passed away, it fell to me to help clean out her house. She had lived there for over 60 years, and every room was filled with memories, dust, and forgotten belongings. It was hard, but the attic was the worst. The air was thick with the scent of mothballs and thyme. Boxes were stacked high, old furniture draped in white sheets like ghost drawers in mid-motion. I was about to call it a day when I saw a large wooden rump pushed into the farthest, darkest corner of the attic. Unlike everything else, it wasn't covered in dust. Someone had touched it recently. I hesitated. Something about it felt wrong, a curiosity one. I dragged it into the light and examined it. Heavy, old, and locked with a rusted padlock. The name Eliza was carved into the lid. My grandmother's name. I searched through the attic until I found a small key in an old jewelry box. My hands trembled as I fitted into the lock. With a soft click, it popped open. Inside, neatly arranged, were dozens of Polaroid photographs. At first, they seemed normal. Black and white snapshots of my grandmother as a young woman. My grandfather beside her, smiling. But as I flipped through them, my stomach turned. The later ones were different. Wrong. The first unsettling photo showed my grandmother sitting on the edge of her bed, staring at the camera. She wasn't smiling. She looked tired, maybe even scared. The next few were similar: her in the kitchen, her in the living room, always looking directly at the lens, always with the same exhausted, haunted expression. Then, a shift. One photo showed my grandmother asleep, another of her brushing her hair in the mirror, then one of her sitting at the dining table, but this time, the photo was taken from outside the window. My breath hitched. Someone had been taking these pictures of her. I shuffled through them faster, panic rising in my chest. The last 10 or so were completely different. Darker, blurry images taken at night. The hallway outside her bedroom door, the foot of her bed, a closet door slightly ajar. Then, the final photo. It was taken from inside her bedroom. My grandmother was asleep, and standing in the corner of the room, barely visible in the shadows, was that all thin figure. I dropped the stack of photos and stumbled back, my pulse pounding in my ears. My mind raced. Who had taken these? My grandfather? A stalker? Then I noticed something else in the trunk. A single handwritten note, folded neatly beneath the photographs. I picked it up, unfolding it with shaking fingers. If you find this, don't look for me. Don't try to understand. Just burn it. Burn everything. It was signed Eliza. A sharp creak sounded behind me. I spun around. The attic was empty, just dusty boxes and forgotten relics. But the air felt different, heavy, charged, expectant. I grabbed the trunk and ran. I don't remember getting in my car or speeding down the road. I don't remember anything except the overwhelming feeling of being watched. I took the trunk to a secluded spot near the woods and did what the note said. I burned everything. The photograph scrawled and blackened, faces twisting in the flames. The trunk groaned as the fire consumed it. As I stood there, my mind racing, something crackled behind me, a branch snapping underfoot. I turned, heart in my throat. Nothing, just trees, just darkness. But as I stared, I swore I saw something shift between the trees. Tall, thin, watching. I don't know what my grandmother was hiding. I don't know if burning the trunk was enough. But ever since that night, I'd been waking up at exactly 3:14 a.m. And every time, my closet door is slightly open, obsessing over the most beautiful necklace I ever purchased. It's so beautiful, how it shines in the light, casting exotic reflections that dance across the room. How precise the white gem is carved into the shape of a man. Each detail so lifelike it seems to breathe. How the white gold chain was beautifully forged, its links interwoven with an artistry that defies comprehension. This was by far my best purchase ever. The moment I saw it at a jewelry street and in the middle of nowhere, under the pale moonlight, I knew I had to have it. I had never seen anything so exquisite, so mesmerizing. The hooded man who sold it to me practically gave it away. A near $100 for something so exquisite felt like a steal. He even tried to sweeten the deal with a fantastical story about how the necklace was discovered in the Arctic by explorers, locked away in a metal chest. But honestly, I couldn't care less about its origins or the tale behind it. All I knew was that I had to have it. The moment I laid eyes on it, nothing else mattered. So I paid the man, all the while ignoring his stories, and left. That was 2 hours ago. It's midnight, and I lay in my bed, jewelry in hand, my gaze fixated on it. How could I take my eyes away from it? Its beauty speaks to me in so many ways. Like the painstaking work in making such intricate links in the white gold chain, each one a testament to the artisan's skill, or the way the reflections off the gem seem to change color, creating an illusion of the carved man dancing gracefully. How the same carved man seems to speak silent words whenever I rotate the gem, whispering secrets that I wish I could hear. Sometimes, when I spin the necklace around, the man carved from the gem seems to come to life. His arms and feet appear to move, performing a delicate dance. At times, I could swear I see him tilt his head and shift his body, as if acknowledging my presence. He appears so happy, almost jubilant, just as happy as I am holding this exquisite piece of jewelry. As I gaze at the gem, envy washed over me. I wish I could be as beautiful as the carved man. My own reflection in the mirror shows the very opposite. Acne scars from my teenage years mar my face. My body is far from the ideal. I am overweight, my clothes straining against my frame. My hair is thinning, with bald patches becoming more prominent each day. My eyes, once bright, now seem dull and tired. The gem's beauty only highlights my own imperfections, making me yearn for a transformation, a chance to escape my mundane appearance. I long to shed this skin, to become something more, something worthy of admiration. As I continue to stare at the gem, I began to squint as I can see a reflection of myself in the gem. But it's not the same me. This reflection is a perfect version of myself: flawless skin, a lean and toned body, thick, lustrous hair, and eyes that sparkle with life. This idealized version of me seemed to flawlessly fit the gem carved as a man. It moved gracefully, as if it has a life of its own, without the necklace moving or rotating. It dances in gestures, exuding confidence and beauty, everything I wish I could be. Another 2 hours passed. I am still lying on my bed, still fixated on the necklace. I hear a knock on the door, the entrance to my rather small one-bedroom, one-bathroom apartment. This is the first time I broke my gaze from the necklace and instead focused in on the door. I approached the entrance door to my apartment and looked through the peephole. No one was there. Assuming they must have knocked on the wrong door, I walked back towards my bed to rest and resume my gaze upon the exquisite necklace and the gem. To my surprise, the carved man was absent from the necklace, its main centerpiece. I began to look for it frantically, thinking that I must have somehow accidentally broken it off from holding the necklace too tightly. Then I heard another knock at the door. Frustrated by the interruption, I rushed to the door and looked through the peephole again, only to find the shadow of a person walking past my door. I opened the door and looked down the right hallway where the shadow appeared to walk towards, and saw the figure of a man turning around the corner. He looked very familiar. Maybe it was one of my drunk neighbors not knowing where they were, or a prankster knocking on random doors, though I had never experienced either. I thought nothing of it and continued to search for the carved man that had fallen off the necklace. However, I didn't feel the necklace in my right hand this time. I must have placed it somewhere without realizing it when I was distracted by the knock. Now even more frustrated, I looked for both the necklace and the carved man with renewed vigor. I searched on my dining table, and tables, coffee table. I inspected the couch, including under the pillows and underneath it. I checked the bedroom again, including underneath the bed and under my sheets. All that effort resulted in nothing. Frustrated beyond belief, I was about to restart my search in the living room until I heard that same knock on the door. I cursed under my breath and stomped towards the door, this time ignoring the peephole and placing my hand on the handle. But something stopped me from opening the door. I don't know why, but I felt uneasy this time. The people in this building are practically harmless, and I live in a safe, quiet neighborhood. This apartment complex requires a fob to enter the main entrance, so this should filter out all the non-residents. I checked the peephole and saw presumably the same familiar man from before standing right in front of the door with a smile on his face. He looked familiar, and I couldn't place where I had seen him before. His smile, though, unsettled me. As I continued to stare, I began to notice details that seemed oddly recognizable. His skin was smooth and unblemished, free from any imperfections. His body was lean and toned, the clothes fitting him perfectly, accentuating his ideal physique. His hair was thick and lustrous, cascading down in rich waves. His eyes sparkled with life and confidence. A sense of unease grew within me as I observed him. There was something about his features, his posture, his very presence that tugged at my memory. The way he stood, the way he smiled, it all felt familiar. Then, I noticed the necklace around his neck. It was beautiful, extremely beautiful. The chain seemed wrought by white gold with masterfully crafted interwoven links, but it seemed like it was missing something, maybe a pendant or a gem. I immediately stepped away from the door with a huge surge of fear and adrenaline. That's when I realized that the necklace he was wearing was the one I had been searching for in the last few hours. That was mine. But how? How could he have stolen it from my apartment? It's impossible. I looked through the peephole again, finding that the man was still there. He hadn't moved and still maintained that same godful smile. Wait. That smile. That smile complemented with a single dimple on his left cheek. That's how I look when I smile. Oh God. Is that me? Is that a perfect version of me? Standing right behind that door? I ran to my bathroom and faked a smile. It matched the guy's smile. I looked at my hair. My eyes. Both were a good match. Except his were gorgeous. It's me but perfect. How? Why? My thoughts were interrupted when another knock came from the door. I immediately rushed to the living room, took a chair, and wedged it at the door, hoping that it would make it difficult for anyone to break in and enter. Then I took my phone and dialed 911 while maintaining my gaze at the door. All I heard was static. I looked at my phone and saw the time was 10:14 p.m. I checked my wall clock. 10:14 p.m. How can that be? I used my banking app to search for the timestamp of when I purchased the necklace, considering that's approximately when I got home. 10:14 p.m. Fear took over me. I dropped my phone. This seems crazy to me. Did time stay still? What the hell is going on? Before I could crouch down to pick up my phone, I saw an arm effortlessly pass through the door. The arm was pale and slender, moving with an eerie grace. Then a leg followed, stepping through the solid wood as if it were mere air. The leg was perfectly formed, clad in elegant trousers that seemed to shimmer in the dim light. Slowly, the rest of his body emerged, each movement fluid and deliberate. His torso, dressed in a finely tailored shirt, slipped through the door without resistance. Finally, his head appeared, crowned with thick, lustrous hair that framed his flawless face. The man seemed to have walked through the door, all the while smiling, as if he were a ghost. I ran to my bedroom and locked the door. I screamed at the top of my lungs, demanding that he should leave before I either called the cops or hurt him out of self-defense. But we both knew that my threats carried no weight. My phone was in the living room, and the only weapon I had on hand was my desk lamp. Makeshift weapon in hand, I stood but 6 feet from the door. I mustered all the courage I could prepare myself for anything that I might see. Then I saw him again, walking through my door effortlessly, his movements fluid and ghostly. His smile remained, unwavering and unsettling, as he passed through the solid wood as if it were mere air. I dropped my makeshift weapon, screamed in fear, and sprinted to my bed, hiding under my sheets. I prayed to God, hoping that I would be safe and make it out alive, knowing deep down that I wouldn't. Hours, or what seemed like hours, passed while I waited. The suspense was killing me, so I decided to peek through my bed sheets. No one was there. The sun was illuminating my bedroom through the window. The threat looming over me seemed to have vanished. What a beautiful day. I whistled happily as I got out of bed and prepared myself for the workday ahead of me. Everything from the night before seemed like such a blur. I don't recall why I was afraid. I picked up my phone and checked for any messages. Nothing. Any previous calls while I was asleep? Nothing. Everything seemed to be fine. I walked to my bathroom and inspected myself in the mirror. No blemishes. Check. No balding spots or imperfections in my hair. A necklace around my neck seemed to have dulled in beauty. Though, how unfortunate. I could swear that the carved man represented the image of a perfect man, not this slightly overweight person with what looked like rough imperfections all around it. What a mistake it was for me to buy this thing. I must have been fooled by the lack of light due to nighttime conditions. I was about to dump the necklace into the trash bin, but something stopped me from doing so. I wasn't sure what. As I looked at it again, I noticed that the expression of the carved man seemed sad, depressed, despairing even. This made me pause. I decided to wear the necklace once more. Maybe he will see the life that he should have been living a long time ago. Only this time, with me at the helm. People at the plant are died, and I know why. I've been working security at this construction site for almost a year. Another month and it'll be a review. And God willing, a raise. I'm really tired of eating lukewarm noodles for lunch. Other than meager pay and an abysmal economy. The situation's been great. Until things got weird. I suppose now that's the least of my problems. I first got on around the middle of the month. The job entails sitting around in a metal box to watch over a half-built construction site. It's supposed to be the biggest project in North America, so I keep an eye out for drunk teenagers and addicts looking for copper. Miles of prefabricated steel, rebar and concrete. Giant slabs of half-made buildings cut through the night air. LED lampposts pepper the place throughout, illuminating everything in that pale, artificial glow that lines the highways across the country. You know, there must dozens of people making rounds or burning the night oil. Still, being out there in the darkness makes you feel vulnerable. On the record, what I do is stand at the ready, clipboard in hand, and call the cops if whatever I ask to leave. Dozens. In practice, I stare off into the dark, doom scrolling Reddit and TikTok. One eye on my phone and the other looking for my boss. If you get caught sleeping, you're fired, of course, but anything you do to stay awake is gravy. The first time it happened was my phone died. I was watching some goth chick dance in a video that if caught I don't think would get me canned, but definitely would have raised an eyebrow. I didn't notice when halfway through a swipe I wound up looking at a black mirror. Muttering, I tossed the phone on the folding chair I use as a table. Great. I even forgot my charger. Hours I now spent just staring at the dark, waiting to be relieved. Only thing I could do is ignore the nagging thoughts in my head that I failed at life. Trade school would have been better than dropping out of college knee-deep in debt. It was then looking at the horizon of supposedly empty towers. Something moved. I squinted at the horizon. Something massive crept between the giant metal beams. The braces to future walls were stories high. Whatever was breaking the light between them. It must have been massive. Is that a crane? I leaned closer as if that would somehow help. It didn't move again, but I swear the lighting was different. Some giant black shadow there in a shambles of buildings yet to be. I thought I was going mad when the thought crept in that it somehow looked human. The window myself flickered with the approach of yellow headlights. My replacement moss-eyed over in a white pickup truck to start the shift. A man in safety yellow hopped out covered in fake badges and the word security blazoned over everything. I think a clown costume would have been less embarrassing. I couldn't mock him though. After all, I was wearing the same thing. I handed over the clipboard covered in scribbles, accounting for who checked on me, who I turned away and when. As he signed for ownership of the thing, I asked him, did the company start doing night construction? None that I know of. He shook his head in response. Wouldn't surprise me though. Every day this thing isn't built costs these guys money. I told him the parts that didn't make me sound like a loony and he laughed at me. Sounds like you're getting tired. You doing okay out here? I laughed it off and thought nothing of it until tomorrow. Aim and eyed on the construction site, crushed by a fallen beam. The legal fanfare was long over by the time I returned. Even then the rumor mill was abuzz. I hadn't stepped foot in the briefing room before I heard the people talking about it outside. Can't believe something that big would have failed like that. Somebody in a turtleneck on the accounting side mumbled through a turkey sandwich. I bet the safety guy's fuming. He was. I saw him yelling at his phone through a mix of about 3 languages. Every phone he owned in his office vibrating with loaded questions demanding answers. He gave me one look and swore as he shut the door. No one could have seen it coming. Rumor was a manufacturing error in the connection, caused a beam to drop, crushing some poor guy all the way from Honduras there to build the thing. There was no way what I saw was connected. At least that was what I told myself. I popped a nicotine pouch in my lip and drank my Coke. I'd salivate over pretty women another time. I knew security would be tight. I was right. The rovers came by twice as often, doing in-shack inspections, telling me to sweep up non-existent dirt. Everyone was on edge since the death. Emergencies like this meant corporate, and everyone was afraid of a call. Unemployment in America is like pulling teeth from an angry dog. You're just gonna leave in worse shape than you came. That meant everyone was in full CY mode to make sure they didn't lose their job. I even had a manager come in to watch me as I worked. Bill was an alright sort. He smoked like a chimney, but so did my dad. At $10 a pack, I wondered how either of them could afford it, but old habits die hard. Everyone else was shook like a jumping bean, but that old man stayed cool. Hardly raised an eyebrow or said a word as we watched a dead horizon. Cars on the freeway would pass, and that distant whoosh was the only thing that broke the silence until finally he spoke. "So, Marty told me you saw something." He leaned back in his folding chair, balancing on the rear legs with an effortless ease. I shrugged, looking out the window, and told him what I told Marty. Some shadows over the horizon. Must have been getting tired. He poked at his pack with a nonchalance as he continued. "What else did you see?" I froze like a kid caught in a cookie jar. My reaction told him what he wanted to know because he chuckled to himself as he put his chair back on all fours. He pulled his smoke out and nodded to the window. "Open it." I did as he asked. I knew it was grounds for termination for us both, but looking at him it just seemed the right thing to do. He leaned forward, lit his cigarette, and took a deep breath to sigh. Whole thing looked like a confession at an AA meeting as he started. "I'd been at this job for over a decade. Companies had me watch over the construction of 2 oil rigs, a lumber mill, a state prison, and now here. When you work nights alone out here, you'll see some things. Some say it's tricks, but I think there's more to it than that. Little things like to flicker along the darkness. Places we weren't supposed to go. The junkies will see them. Shadows moving around in outlines of people. Most think they're just high off their rocker, but I don't think you are using any help staying up. Usually it's nothing. Just little ones. It's the big one you have to worry about." I didn't say a word. I swear that man could read faces like a thrift store book. Suzy, he didn't ask a thing. Just took a drag. It had stained yellow from years of tar and coffee. I don't imagine those schools teach you much about what an omen is. Suffice it say, the big one is usually a sign of something. Something bad. I've seen him twice over the years. Both times something terrible happened. "What did you do?" I asked him as goose flesh ran up my arms. The whole situation just felt surreal. "Nothing you can do." He shook his head and smoked some more. "No one to tell and no one would believe you. Just keep your head down, mouth shut, and whatever you do, pray that thing doesn't see you." He finished his smoke and things went back to normal. He told me about his kids or what he could remember of them. Wife took them and ran years ago, so he hadn't seen them since. Never got married again because why bother? Said he lost enough for one life. Ours passed, and when someone came to relieve us, he stepped in his truck to leave. The door opened, showing 2 MREs and a blanket in his cab. I would have thought he slept in the thing were it not for the hotel provisions to travel. Between projects he probably did. You remember what I told you. It ain't your fault. And it sure as heck ain't your business. With that he pulled off the lot and drove away. Weeks passed and nothing changed. More workers, more scanned badges, and more flicking my thumb to an endless river of content. The buzz about the death died down and surprise inspections were all but forgotten. The nail in the coffin was the suits coming in. A bunch of people whose face I only recognized from plots on a wall gave a half-hearted speech full of buzzwords, and somehow people knew things were done. The lip service was paid. Serfs go back to work. I thought nothing of it. Just tried to keep my head down like I was told. If there wasn't a catastrophe at work or a bill in default, there was something on the news telling me I was about to die. No difference I can make. Just leave me to my life of quiet desperation. That was until it happened again. I looked out at a night like any other in the last week. It was pouring rain, and my service was acting up when I saw that giant thing again. A shadow stories tall flashed over the floodlights and hovered over transformers built on post. The move was slow and deliberate, same rhythm as the cars on the horizon. Any slower I wouldn't have caught it, but the thing was there. Like some crane perched over the building with a strand of lowered cargo. The closer I looked, however, the more saw a pair of arms. A flash flood happened 2 days later. Transformer blew and 10 men were electrocuted. None survived. This time the government got involved. Police, reporters, anything you could think of. I was given a business card to our media rep and told not to open my mouth for anyone. I didn't know what I could say, so I did as I was told. Walking into the skirted trailer we used as a meeting site, I locked eyes with Bill. A solemn nod from tired eyes. We both knew plenty without a word between us. A horrible truth and no one there to tell. I still would have kept it to myself. Would have called myself a nut and tried to forget. Over the months I almost did. But now I know what it looks like. A giant shadow, looming over the night, hands grasping for anything it can ride back to the dark. Its skull looming over ribs of rebar and iron. Eyes cold glow of a pair of lampposts in the distance. A death trap waiting to fall on another mouse. It's been hugging the nuclear silo here for a week. And every day, it's been looking right at me.